everybody. Welcome to this month's episode of the Ask Adam podcast. We are in the month of October, all month long. Pastor Adam and the team have been preaching and teaching about change. And man, have there been a lot of changes happening around here at the bridge.
Yes, it's been a month of change, talking about a new season of change. So it's exciting.
And the scripture that Pastor pulled from this month is from Ecclesiastes 3:1. And I can't help but try to sing it every time I read it, but I won't sing it this time.
Oh, please.
To everything, there is a season and a time and for every purpose under heaven. Who originally sang that song?
The Birds.
Was it the Birds?
Yes, the Birds made it a classic.
Between that and what is that one that Madeline keeps referring to? Change?
That's not from the Bible,
Not
but
from the
David.
Bible.
That's David Bowie.
That's it, David Bowie. So there's a lot of songs about change. And even in this podcast, because we're going to try something new for this episode, I've actually taken the questions that were submitted and I've broken them up into two parts. One is going to be Ask Adam about the Bible, and we're going to hit that off off the head because we figured that's why you're here. You know, Pastor Adam's a pastor, and he's got some really great biblical truths like Bible 101 foundational type question answers. And then the second half of the podcast, if you'd like to skip ahead, you sure can, but we'd encourage you to listen to the whole thing. We will have a section called Ask Adam Anything. And Pastor Adam, we have some current event questions in that category as well as leadership questions, but that's going to come up after.
Okay. I like it.
All right. So your first biblical Bible 101, if you will, question is actually submitted about salvation from Rudy, who sent in a question via the app. He asks, I recently read that if you are not saved, you cannot call God Father when you pray. What is your opinion on this?
Well, I can see why you would say that. And technically, I agree. It's Rudy. I
Rudy.
technically agree with you, Rudy. He's only your father if you've accepted him and asked him into your life. He's God to the whole world, but you have an excellent premise. Accepting Jesus into your life is really acceptance into a new family, and that's when God takes a new title more than just God. He becomes your heavenly Father, right? And this is how Jesus says to address him when you pray, but Jesus tells that to his followers. So yes, I agree with your premise, Rudy, and I know the world does not want to hear that. The world wants to hear that we're all children of God.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that. I believe we're all creations of God. But I believe you become a child of God through, like our theme is a change, that you've decided to change. I no longer want to be a child of the world or even sons of the devil, which is a term Jesus used to one crowd who was not believers. Instead, I'd rather be in the family of God. And if you're in the family of God, then he is your father. So, yes, I agree with you, Rudy.
And along another question that kind of coincides with salvation, if you watched Sunday, October, if you tuned in online or were here in the house, Sunday, October 12th, Pastor Adam was talking about Paul becoming his conversion from Saul to Paul. And so Terrence submitted a question to you, Pastor, about watching online and wondering why you were referring to the greatest conversions and not salvations.
Well, I was quoting, Terrence, a article I read probably 26, 27 years ago from a very prominent magazine that said I think it was the 10 greatest conversions in Christianity or in Christian history. I don't remember exactly how it was worded, but so I quoted that. But there is I'm glad you asked this question because you can convert. You could be saved already and still convert. For example, Martin Luther, who I think in the article had him at the third biggest conversion. Was he unsaved being a Catholic priest? I don't know. I don't want to peel the onion too thin on this one. Let's assume he was. But he converted from one line of belief, meaning Catholicism, into the Reformation or the Reformed Church. So he converted. Saul of Tarsus, who was number one, or number two was, I think, Constantine the Great, the first Christian emperor of Rome, and made Christianity the state religion of Rome. That's a biggie, obviously. And but he converted from paganism into Christianity. Saul of Tarsus converted from Judaism, and a very strict form of it, into Christianity. So the word I was using there wasn't about the biggest salvations of all time. The point I was trying to make is because our theme is change, Terrence. So I'm trying to wrap little sermons around things that are changing. And really the word conversion, in essence, means to go from one area to another area or to cross a line. So I wanted to show the biggest conversions. Now you could say Constantine's was salvation. Was Saul's? I don't know. I would tend to say yes. Was Martin Luther's? I don't think salvation was part of his conversion. His was all his doctrinal beliefs and his personal beliefs. So I didn't want to get into the biggest salvations per se.
Yeah.
I wanted to get into the biggest changes. And I'm glad you asked this question because I probably didn't explain it well enough on Sunday. I kind of blew through it. But there is a distinct difference between the two.
And one might also consider salvation being the personal relationship with Christ, and then the conversion is the practice.
Well, and
right?
let's be honest, I don't want to get too much down this rabbit trail, but I bet we all know somebody, you included, Jess, that has said a sinner's prayer.
Yeah.
But was there any change?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So was there truly a conversion? They might have got saved. I believe salvation's, it's free. It's a gift. And for lack of a better word, I think it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
But the change is the conversion. And that becomes the harder part.
Do the practicing Jews, back to Rudy's question, or of the Jewish faith, do they consider themselves children of God without having the Christ conversion?
Yeah, absolutely. They consider themselves the children of Israel.
Okay.
Israel being the prince, obviously, and they're of the lineage of Abraham and then Isaac, and of course, the one who got his name changed to Israel, Jacob. So they believed, yes. Well, that's a funny word. What would they have considered? If you would have asked them, yes.
Mm-hmm.
In hindsight, was there true salvation? Or This is where you get into all the doctrines about what is paradise in the Bible, how many layers of heaven are there, and whatnot. If they were saved, and what did Jesus do for the 3 days in the tomb? He seems to have somewhat saved them then. So yeah, that's a deeper doctrinal question. But if you would have looked them in the eye and asked them in the day, absolutely they would have believed it. For sure. So yes.
The next question in our foundational questions here is from Bree. Bree asks, do you think that we are at the end time? She says, because I don't believe that we are. She says, I know scripture says people will flip good for bad and vice versa, natural disasters, children disobeying their parents, like my grandpa told me about. But she's saying that she still sees that there's a lot of good. Like, I don't see all the bad stuff happening as much. And so do you think that this is the end times, considering there's still so much good? And I'm assuming she's been taught or is led to believe that it's going to be really, really bad at the end.
Yeah. Well,
and
great.
It's not that bad yet.
Well, Bree, thank you for the question. Well, this is a relative. If we're within 100 years of it, then yes, we would be, right? But is it going to happen in our lifetime? Well, I don't know how long I have. Hopefully through the weekend.
Yeah.
I'm going fishing. I'm looking forward to that. But in the whole scope of things, time's so relative. From a human perspective, we think, a year is a long time. Oh, it's nothing.
Yeah.
And even the older we get, we realize, you were telling me the age of your kids an hour ago, and I can't believe it. So I do believe we are in the last days. What does that mean? Does that mean if this was a movie, the credits are about to roll. I don't know. Well, I will say this first before we go down that path, Bree. Every generation has thought from about the year 1000 on. Or actually, even the generation that was alive when Jesus resurrects thought they were going to witness his second coming. And they've all been wrong. However, one generation will be right.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there will be good. There will still be good. That's where the great shaking comes from, to see what fruit falls and to see what fruit remains. There will always be a remnant, what the Bible talks about. So there will always be good. But I got to be honest with you, Bree, the more I look around, the good is harder and harder to find.
Yeah.
Like, you got to go hunting for it.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much to find it now. And in my lifetime, I've never seen our nation so divided. I've never seen the world so. Granted, if I lived during World War II, I would have absolutely thought, yes, with this Hitler figure and that this has got to be the end, and 30 million deaths worldwide from this conflict. This has to be. And so I don't want to get so myopic that I think just in my day, it can't get worse. I do believe it can get worse.
Are there certain prophecies that still have to be fulfilled in order for Christ's return?
Well, Jesus gives some himself, and it's called the beginning of sorrows, and it's towards the end of the Gospel of Matthew, where he talks about wars, rumors of wars, pestilence, famines. Then he gets much more into detail about brother hating brother. What is good will be deemed bad, and what's bad will be deemed good. Stop me, Bree, if any of this is not happening right now. So that's why I lean towards.
Is the temple going to have to be totally rebuilt, like the physical temple?
It talks about a new Jerusalem, but that's after. And again, this is a rabbit trail. Do you believe in a mid-tribulation, a post-tribulation, a pre-tribulation? Do you believe in a rapture, right, which was the big thing from the 1980s till the beginning of this century? And I know that's not your question. Your question, Bree, I believe is, do you believe Jesus is coming back soon? And in my personal opinion, yes, I do. Will it be will my physical eyes see it? I don't know. And part of me, I'll be honest, hopes it doesn't. The Bible says it'll be a great but yet terrible day. Right?
Where's the statement or the teaching that it'll happen in the generation that Israel becomes restored?
Well, that's an interpretation of that.
Okay, I was going to say, where does it actually say that?
Some people believe from 1948 on, once Israel was restored, that was like the beginning of the end.
Okay.
How long will the end take?
Is that like 100 years?
In a football game, it's 15 minutes, right, for the last quarter. But if you watch football, it's funny. I'll tell my wife, I go, well, there's only 12 minutes left in the game. She's like, well, that's an hour and a half.
Yeah, exactly.
Timeouts, injuries, reviews, commercials. But yet you're in the final phases of the game. So I do believe, Bree, we are in the final phases of the game. But are we close to the clock ticking to zero? I don't know. But I got to be honest, the more I go along, the more I start thinking, yes.
Okay. Well, and back to our conversation we were having about Paul and Sunday's message. You got a couple more questions regarding Paul and the biblical significance. Madeline would like to know, both Madeline and Joe Bertola, I think from church, asked, she asks, what is the historical significance of changing a name in the Bible? Abram to Abraham, Saul to Paul, Simon to Peter. And then Joe also would like to know who gave Saul of Tarsus the name Paul.
Oh, those are good questions. You're onto something, Maddo. Almost from Genesis all the way to the final pages, people get name changes. Sometimes I believe they're kind of terms of endearment, nicknames, right? I know Thomas in the Bible is called Didymus. I believe that's a term of endearment. I don't believe he was a twin. I believe he looked like somebody.
Okay.
Because that Didymus can mean twin, but it can also mean look-alike. Others are much more significant, such as Simon into Peter. Jesus gave him that name.
I mean, from the reed to the rock, that's a huge
Yes, it's
jump.
It's a change, right? And both are beautiful names, but Jesus gave him that name because, and then he even goes on and says why. He says, because on this rock, or this Petra, this Peter, I will build my church. So, yes, and Abram, and not only, but Abram's wife Sarai becomes Sarah. My father did a teaching years ago on the sounds of God. Even it's even predates like modern languages, because would be the sound that early humans would make that means God. We know of Yahweh, right? We know of Jehovah, right? And so Abram gets an place in his name, Abraham. Sarai becomes Sarah. So it's almost taking a name and incorporating the sound of God within the name, almost like a fingerprint is on my life now. I'm no longer the world's. I'm no longer. And in Abram's case, I bet he took a lot of derision from his name, because his name means father, Abba, Abram, right? But yet he had no children. You know, I'm sure people, here comes Big Daddy-O, who has no kids. And yet now with God, he is lofty father, right? And he gets he has two. He has Ishmael, and then secondly, Isaac. So that's kind of, in the Old Testament, you see name changes. Even God himself changed. We talked earlier, takes Jacob, which means supplanter, or somebody who cuts in line, and he gets the name Prince of God, Israel. So these have significance, huge significance. And then on Sunday, and I probably should have, sometimes I just assume, I'm just going to assume that people know some of the big key points of the Bible. And you know what? Forgive me, Lord, for sometimes assuming this. Because I preached on the conversion, because our theme has changed, the conversion of Saul of Tarsus. And I must have had 10 people come up to me afterwards and go, I'm confused. Is he Paul? So yes, his birth name was Saul, which is, he's named after the first king of Israel. It's right. It's still a name. Very, even the word Solomon is a derivative of the name Saul. So that's the name he was born with. But then I believe it's about Acts 13. Yeah. All of a sudden, our author, Luke, in the book of Acts says he was no longer called Saul, that he was named Paul. And that's the only definition we have this. But I made a little comment, and a few people have been asking me about this, that I really like the Gospel of Luke and Acts together, one author, because I kind of like the intellect of the author. I know he was a doctor, and I know he's a trained man, but he loved irony. He loved to put little ironic things in Scripture. And I almost believe he wanted you to find them. I gave a couple of examples on Sunday, if you pull up the sermon that he did, but I believe in the name of Paul, he does it again. I was taught in Bible college, guys, Maddo and Joe, who asked this question, that he takes the name Paul because it is the Gentile version of the name Saul. So in essence, he didn't change his name. He just changed the pronunciation of his name. Does that make sense? If my name was Joseph, but I'm going to do work in Latin America, and now I go by Jose.
Right.
Right? I've changed my name, but really I haven't changed my name.
Sure.
You see what I'm saying? I believe, this is just me, that that's not why he took that name, making it a Gentile version of it. I believe if you read all of Acts 13, they get somebody very prominently saved. The Roman governor of the island of Cyprus, one of the biggest islands in the Mediterranean, right off the coast of the Middle East, Syria and Lebanon. And that man's name was Sergius Paulus, Paulus. Look it up.
Okay.
I truly believe that Saul took that man's name. Okay.
Yeah.
And that man had no identification with Saul. He's not Jewish. He's Roman. He's a Roman hierarch. In essence, if you read that whole chapter, Paul and Barnabas are totally being withstood by this false teacher that Luke calls, again, the irony, B-A-R /Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he, in the midst of debating and having this Bar Jesus guy keep stopping them at every point, Saul and Barnabas don't stop, and they overcome him, and they get an audience with this Sergius Paulus, and Saul of Tarsus gets him saved. And from that point on, the irony, all of a sudden he's no longer Saul of Tarsus. He is now Paul the Apostle. So I can't back that up, but I do know.
Sounds like a good theory.
Knowing our author, that he liked to interject these little things like this. And nowhere before this does Saul of Tarsus say, he's very famous for saying, I shake the dust off my people, the Jewish people, and to the Gentiles I am called. That's in the future. So if he's just doing it so he can be more palatable to Gentiles, okay. But yet he's still going into synagogues. All through the book of Acts, he's still going to synagogues. Even as Timothy, as an adult man, gets circumcised so he could bring him in with him to get to the synagogues. I truly believe he's likening his new life to this very prominent man he led in a sinner's prayer who he got saved. But that's just me.
That's a good, I like it.
So if you want to know what I'm talking, read Acts 12-14. This is the missionary journey of Paul and Barnabas.
Yeah, because as I was searching it, it clearly says that Paul is a Roman name. It is not Hebrew, and therefore it wouldn't have been in their dialect as Hebrews.
Absolutely.
And it would have definitely been a clear change when he introduced himself places that he was no longer Saul, but he was now Paul. So,
yeah.
Awesome.
But I can't prove that 100%, Joe and Maddo, but and I probably wouldn't have said this 10 years ago, but the more I think about it, the more I read it, and the more I know our author, there's got to be some sort of connection in there. And the only connection I can find is that prominent Roman, Sergius Paulus, governor of Cyprus.
Our final question for the first portion of this podcast with asking Pastor Adam about the Bible comes anonymously through our app. I hope everyone has uploaded the new app. There's so many great new features, and it's a lot more user-friendly now. Jubilee Bridge Church, I think, if you find it in the App Store. But it is about tithing. And I'm going to read the paragraph, and I'm going, because I have my own opinion, but I want to know how you feel about this. It's very well put together. The question is, I just finished reading most of the New Testament, and I am a little bit confused. Nowhere did the New Testament command Christians to tithe 10%. Instead, it emphasizes generous, voluntary giving according to one's means. While Jesus mentioned the Pharisees tithing under the Old Covenant, the New Testament's call for giving is based on cheerful, sacrificial, and proportional giving, not a legalistic 10% rule. New Testament passages like 1 Corinthians 16:2 and 2 Corinthians 8:3 encourage giving, quote, as he may prosper, and quote, according to their means, allowing for amounts both more and less than 10%. So why is it always said that we must give 10% of it, referring to the Old Covenant law?
And, it was anonymous?
Anonymous.
Okay, I always like to use the person's name. Okay, anonymous. Well, number one key thing you have to acknowledge before we go any further is, what does the word tithe mean?
Mm-hmm.
It means a tenth. That's the literal meaning of the tithing. And I've had people say Jesus nowhere talking, but actually he does one time, not to his believers, but he's posing a question, right? I believe that it was something that if you were a good Jewish person growing up, it was just part of your worship. Just as going to the temple, just as having the blood for the atonement, just as
covering your head,
covering everything, staying away from certain foods. It was just why reiterate it. It was just a given. But you make the great point, Anonymous, that in the New Testament, it seems somewhat to change, that it should be done cheerfully, number one. It should be done generously, I think, are the two, which is out of Corinthians that you quoted there. And that it should be, in fact, the whole book of the Philippians, if you want to read that, isn't truly about tithing. It's Paul really boasting on their giving, right? And not once does he say, and you hit the 10% line, and then you went over and above, any type of that. My point is this: I don't like to get too legalistic with it.
Yeah.
Right? I don't believe if you are a tither or not a tither, it has anything to do with your salvation. I'll just say that right. I won't say that this Sunday during offering, but I don't think it has any bearing whatsoever to do on it. And since I've been ordained from 1994, the biggest pushback on any of the liturgical observances of Christianity, this is by number one, far and away, the biggest pushback. I've never seen somebody say, those baptisms aren't right, or how dare you give communion to just anybody, and actually you can make little cases of that, but people don't seem to have any issue with it. But with this, and I understand, because it's your money, or it's you could tithe your time, or it's part of your possessions if it's stocks, or if it's other, we've had goods donated over the years. I don't get too legalistic with it, because the more you do, the more there's a pushback from people. I, on the other hand, have been a tither my entire life. I'm just talking about me, Anonymous. It's never been an issue. It's just something that is part of my duty. There's been times it was extremely difficult, and there was times it was like taking a breath. But I will say this, Anonymous: I've never missed a meal. I've never missed a bill payment, car payment. I've never had lack. I've had better times than some other times, but I truly believe that there is a protection over a believer when they tithe. And I know that you say it should be cheerful, but if you want to keep quoting New Testament, let's quote it then. Right? Number one, Jesus says where your treasure is where your heart is. And if you're going to say, well, my treasure is not, I don't give it compulsory or out of duty. Okay, well, I'm not the one who said that. It was Jesus. In the book of Acts, in chapter 5, two people, Ananias and Sapphira, heaven put to death because all the church came and laid everything at the disciples' feet, but yet they held it back. All right? And I know you can come up with arguments on why it happened. Maybe they were in bad health before the meeting. I don't know. Maybe it was a coincidence, whatever. I don't know. If you want to go down that path, that's your prerogative. You can. I, on the other hand, I don't want to stand before God's judgment one day knowing that I held something back. This weekend, I want to talk about Cornelius, who's the first Gentile conversion. And I'm fascinated with him. And he was a Roman soldier stationed in a Roman garrison called Caesarea in Israel. And Peter comes to him and prays for him. And what does the angel tell Peter why to go to this Gentile? Because his offerings have come up before us. Read it yourself. So I truly believe lip service by saying you love God is one thing. Proving it, whether through deeds, action, and I know we don't get saved by deeds or actions, but there's proof in the pudding in it. And part of the proof of the pudding is, do I believe enough in it to invest in it.
Yeah.
Right. And then when you invest in it, somebody might say, well, you're just helping them build that church, or you're helping them run that ministry, or you're helping. No, I mean it as, do you trust it enough to invest in yourself?
I'm glad that you brought up about Ananias and Sapphira, because I don't know that enough knowledge. I think we put so much focus on the Old Testament and the 10% that we don't emphasize enough. The new church, the first church was built on 100%. Everybody,
Yes.
They brought everything. So why aren't we up here preaching? Okay, 100%. If you're going to go extreme and say 10% and let's get legalistic about a 10%, well, then you can go extreme and let's get legalistic about 100%. And now we're all living together, as the first church did in a commune situation where we share everything. Which is why I always have to bring it back to, what is the Holy Spirit telling you? Like, there are so many cheerful tithers, and there's a lot of cheerful people who give 90% or 80% or 20% or time.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if you had such blessings in your life? You could live on 50% of what you make and be a happy camper, and your kids have new clothes every year for school, and right?
Yeah.
And your cupboards are never bare. And what if it is because you could live off of that 50 or 60% because God knows the rest is his?
Mm-hmm.
In essence, isn't the Garden of Eden the first message on tithing?
Yeah.
You could eat freely of any of the trees, right? Anytime you want. There's no after 11 stores closed. There's no conditions. Eat anything you want in this garden. I love you so much. I've created it just for your pleasure, except for one.
Yeah.
One of them's holy unto me.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's the tithe.
Yeah.
And heaven forbid that if my spending's so out of control, I have to live on my 100%. And let's be honest, you're not living on your 100%.
Mm-hmm.
You're not saving anything.
Yeah. You're
living week to week, check to check. I don't know. I would rather pull a portion aside, and should we tithe our gross or our net? And these kind of questions make me insane, right? Have you prayed about it? No, I just want the legalistic.
Yeah.
Right? Then again, is that cheerful giving?
Yeah.
Is that generous giving? Or is that just doing the bare minimum I can do to hope I can keep God on my side?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Only a couple times does Jesus make note of an offering. But one of them's the widow.
Yeah.
Who only had 2 coins left.
She was 100%. She
was 100% giver. Yes. And these rich cats were bringing, nice gifts, and Jesus sees it. But who out of all the crowd does he make note of?
Mm-hmm.
Because he says they all gave out of their abundance.
Yeah.
She gave out of her need. Well, what did she need? Well, at that moment, she needed to know that God's got her heart.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, Anonymous, my follow-up question back to you, and not to push back and whatever, and thank you for the question and for writing it out so concisely.
Mm-hmm.
But number one, if you don't want to tithe, that's fine. But are you a cheerful giver?
Mm-hmm. I
was taught in Bible college, show me your checkbook and I'll tell you what kind of a Christian you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in 1990. And that is, granted, we don't have checkbooks like that anymore, but that was wise. It was true.
Mm-hmm.
What are we spending our money on? Right? Is it just for our own self-gratification? Then, honey, enjoy it, because this is your heaven.
Yeah.
That's
all you get.
This is it. But if it's to invest in people, to help people, to keep ministry alive so that the gospel can go forth. I'm not going to sit here and say every church deserves a tithe. Let's be honest, right? Not every restaurant deserves your business. But I guarantee you, somewhere near in and around you, somebody's doing some good work.
Yeah.
And perhaps God's putting it on your heart to do something about it. Be a part of it. Put your hands to the plow as well, right? And let's plow this land. Let's get people saved, set free, and whatnot. And it doesn't happen just vicariously. God uses his family, his group of believers, to advance his word.
It's interesting. Every year, Jeff and I have been married. It'll be 30 years this summer.
Cow.
But we've always done our own taxes.
Right.
And so at the end of the year, when we're putting into TurboTax, you know, they don't just ask you about your donations for your local church. It's every 501c organization, your museums, your nonprofits, anywhere that you've contributed to your community, and then, you know, as a write-off for your donations. And so it's always interesting to me at the end of every year to see.
And I don't know about you, but that has saved my hide a few times.
Multiple times.
Right? That I'm thinking I'm just going to get hammered, and I've had my tax guy numerous times say, "Thank God you gave this, or you gave that extra money to that organization." And I'll be like, "Oh, that's right, I did it." I really believe there is protection. The Bible talks about tithers' rights. Mm-hmm. If you don't want to tithe, that's great. I don't think it has anything to do with your salvation, Anonymous.
Yeah.
But it has a lot to do with protection.
And it says a lot to do with how invested you are in your community. Because if you want to be somebody who just takes all the time, then that's going to reflect one way or the other. And if you're going to be somebody who contributes back to your local community, it will be reflected in your finances.
I don't want to be a drain. I want to be a fountain. Right?
That's great.
And and I can only do that through my giving, not my good thoughts, not my bumper sticker, not the cross around my neck, not nothing wrong with any of those things, but I can only do that from, like what you say, being invested in something.
And so we want to continue to encourage everyone who has a Bible question or a foundational belief question to please submit them. There's no silly question. That's part of what was brought to me recently was the concern that there might be something too silly to ask Pastor Adam, or something too basic, like, was Saul really bald? Like,
oh my God. If you know me, I make all these jokes all the time. Yes. And I just said, let's talk about the bald apostle. And I showed a picture. I must have had 10, 15 people come up to me. I'm thinking I had a great prayer line. But no, they all said, is Paul really bald, or were you making a joke? Paul the apostle I'm talking about. So,
well,
I wasn't around.
Yes.
But the oldest depictions of Paul, end of the 2nd century, almost all show him bald. So anyhow, if you would like to ask Pastor Adam any questions, please submit them. This second portion of our podcast, we don't have very many Ask Adam Anything questions, but we do have a couple about current events and even one about leadership. Josh Welch would like to know, Pastor Adam, what the best way to go about finding a mentor might be, and for something. Is being a mentor something you're called to do, or is it for everyone? That's a great question, Josh. Yeah, you know, we're old enough to remember that this really wasn't much of an aspect in our faith. But in the last 20, 25 years, the roles of life coaches, therapists, mentors, has really risen, and I love it. I'm not knocking it at all. I think it's something that
discipleship, right?
I believe it's something that was long overdue and had long been needed within Christianity. I guess it would determine on what you're looking for, and this is what I've told people too. I don't have a counseling degree. I remember being in Bible college and somebody coming in during break saying, "Hey, if you want to sign up for this, get a counselor." And I remember thinking, I'll never need that. I blew it. I wish I had some more training involved in it, because I feel very inadequate. Right? If you have a question about chapter 20 of the book of Acts, I'm your boy.
Yeah.
But if you're like, hey, my marriage is this and my eldest stepson is this, and I'm like, oh God, I'll cry with you. Let me tell you about mine. So it is, it is something that I think is long overdue. So at times I like to, whether it's in our staff or back at Jubilee in the day, I hired professionals at Jubilee. We had Ida Hardy and Paul Gerlach, and Paul had numerous degrees in all of that. So Dave and Bev Sefton, who did marital counseling for a number of years. I was taught to staff your weaknesses.
Sure.
And I was taught by Clint Eastwood to know what your weaknesses are. A man should know, right? So I knew those were my weaknesses. So Joshy, back to you. And for those that don't know, Josh is out of high school now.
Mm-hmm.
I would think you would need to determine what it is you're looking for in a life coach.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Meaning, I think you can kind of specify a little bit with it. If it's just general, how to walk a decent Christian walk, then somebody with pastoral experience, right? Also, somebody who's been through a fire or two in their life, right? Whether financial or overcame something in their life would be the best to help. If it's a little bit more specific, like you're trying to go into a certain field, then I would look for somebody that's got experience with that, who's been down this path, right? Mm-hmm. And at times we think, oh, I don't want to bother that guy, all right? You know, she's so busy, I don't want to burden her. You would be shocked, I believe, if they're truly a believer, if a young person or any person came up to them and just said, hey, would it be possible, like we could chat once a week?
Yeah.
Right. Or the best one I've ever heard was, I wanted a mentor in pulpit ministry. I'll never forget, it was Steve Muncie who said, send me 5 of your tapes. Right. So I sent him 5 that I had.
Are we talking cassette tapes?
Yeah, cassette. This is back in the 90s.
Okay.
Or DVDs.
Yeah.
And I knew these were the ones that had big altar calls, so I was going to look good.
Sure.
You know? But he didn't critique it for that. He critiqued me with my delivery, how I used my time, or didn't. And I'll never forget that. That wasn't what I was asking for, to be honest. But it's exactly what I needed. Right? He helped me become a better pulpiteer,
sure,
or a communicator. Right? So again, Josh, it's kind of what you're looking at, and you're young. You might have 4 or 5 different ones in your life. I know your husband Jeff's had numerous ones over his life.
Yes.
So at times it'll be for a phase, right? And then your career will change, and you know, get married. You're raising and then you might have a different one then. But truly try to find somebody that can help you, or at least be an encouragement. Isn't it amazing in our world we don't have good spiritual encouragers?
Yeah.
We have them in the world. You go, girlfriend. You're a 10. And all of this is false praise.
Yeah.
But at times, if you truly want a true mentor, Josh, then remember that, number one, give them the right to speak. Maybe even something that'll bristle, you know, maybe your feelings, your ego, your pride. I don't know. Or what's the point, right? I have been a coach. So every time I've tried to counsel, I fall back to my old coaching days. I was a tennis coach at high school level. And I wanted the kids to have fun. So before practice, after matches, after meets, I was they're kids, let's have fun. But when it's hitting the ball time, what are you doing with your feet? Why are you backing up? I've already told you to keep going forward. And I'd get some glances like, well, I thought you were the fun guy. Well, we'll have more fun if you win. Right?
Yeah, right.
If we're going to spend all this time in this hot sun, let's be better players. So, and some can handle it and some could not. I have a friend, and he had a great line. He was such a good athlete. But he liked to play baseball, but he was better in football. And I remember asking him once, how come you always quit football, or you didn't hang in there? And he goes, I didn't like football practice. I didn't want to be grabbed by the face mask and somebody yelling spittle on me or making me run laps. He goes, because I played baseball too. He goes, baseball practice was cake.
Yeah.
You're standing around waiting for the ball to come to you, right? It's you're chit-chatting with your buddies out there. It was just totally different environment. But he goes, I did not like getting yelled at. And I think we all respond to something different. So maybe that'd be my last advice for this, Josh. Try to determine, maybe even put down on a sheet, what is it you're looking for in a life coach or a mentor? All right? Is it something just to speak good things over you, or is it, or because some people can only take that, Or maybe you don't need a pat on the back all the time. Maybe you need a kick in the pants occasionally. Well, then again, knowing what it is you're looking for.
Yeah, for my husband, like you said, he's currently he isn't a CEO, but he has some very good mentors that are CEOs because he's looking to be able to operate in his job at that level. And so it seems like mentorship almost is like a level, like what level are we attempting to get to? And it's so good to stretch yourself, to surround yourself with people that are at various levels and to stretch you and cause you to grow. Josh, if there's any way I can encourage you, I have this when I'm meeting somebody for the first time, because that's the most uncomfortable part about reaching out and creating a relationship, especially with somebody that's leveled up higher than you. I'll either send a text or I'll ask them, I'll say, in the next 2 weeks, would there be any time in your calendar that you might be able to get together for coffee in the next 2 weeks? So I try to give them a pretty broad, like everybody can, yes or no, but for the next 2 weeks, is there any way we can get together for a cup of coffee? And
there's great ways to use technology now with it as well, because let's be honest, sometimes you need a full dental appointment.
Yeah.
You need her or he to have his hands in there doing something.
Yeah.
But at other times, you just need a little checkup. You just need, and maybe, could you text me? Could you, just check in with me occasionally.
Questions off you.
Can I bounce questions off and you answer them at your own leisure?
Yeah.
To me, this is healthy because it's not so it's Wednesday at 2:00. I got to go see my mentor.
Yeah.
Right. Then it's kind of and if it's a drag for you, I guarantee you it's a drag for the mentor.
Yeah.
So I think there's new ways that we can make this work.
Yes.
Great question, Josh.
Great question, Josh. Our next question around current events is, it is the month of October. We have a pretty significant event happening this month. And the question is, why is it okay or how is it okay for a Christian to participate in Halloween?
Well,
what do you think about Halloween, Pastor Adam? Because we know the church here...
Yeah, what's your participation?
It's like, okay, October's coming around. We're going to get all the love and the hate.
But it's funny. We've been doing it so many years now. And in case you're wondering what it is we do, we just have a booth downtown.
It's super fun for those of us who get to be creative and want to participate.
And we don't view it as this is our Halloween thing. I view it as this is our church outreach.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's evangelism out there, right? Yeah. We never dress up as something scary or ghoulish or witches. No, we always come up with, I did it once at Jubilee where I made sure you had to come as a biblical figure. And one kid came as the devil. I'm looking at him going, what? He goes, he's in the Bible. I'm like, oh, you got me on that one. I had to clean it up the next year. This year, I think it's the Jubilee Ranch or the Jubilee Farm.
Yeah, farm.
So we're farmers and ranchers and animals and just trying to make it fun. Really, we're doing it more. The mayor of Morgan Hill loves us and asked us amongst 4 other churches to take part in it. I view it as we're out there and you've seen it. I will shake 4,000 hands.
Yeah.
I will probably.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, is that participating in Halloween? I'm not going door to door. I'm not doing trick or treating. And to be honest with you, why can't we steal the day back? Because in case you don't know, the day was a Christian day.
Yeah.
It's called Hallow Eves. Hallowed, like hallowed be thy name. Hallow, holy Eve, right? Because November 1st in the Catholic Church is All Saints Day.
Okay.
So October 31st is the eve, like Christmas Eve is the eve of Christmas. Hallow Eve. I don't know how we got to wean, but whatever. But they need to wean the wean and go back to it. It's actually was originally a Christian day. So maybe if more Christians.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, it's kind of bugged me because when we were kids, it was a total kids thing.
Yeah.
Right? Dress up at school, get your picture taken, be part of the lame little parade at the school, wave at your folks.
Get your cake or whatever.
Yeah, your little orange cupcake, some candy corn, and call it a day. Now there are more adults participating in this day than there are kids.
Well, we live in Willow Glen, and they They bust them in. We have neighbors that'll get 1,000 pieces for their houses to pass out.
Unbelievable.
And so, I always, whenever I have any Christians that are like are convinced it's one way, I just clarify. I do not celebrate Halloween.
Yeah.
I participate in Halloween, and I believe that there's a huge difference. And when Christians stop participating in
anything,
then the devil wins. And so let's participate. I don't have to celebrate it. I'm not celebrating all of that. I celebrate Jesus, but I participate in Halloween because it's important to put the light where the dark comprehends it not.
I'm drawing breath and my heart will be beating on October 31st. Yes. So I'm not going to become a monk and shut the blinds and just lock myself into a room.
Yeah.
Me and Jesus, and we're hunkered down until the devil's day is over.
Yeah.
My patriotism of being an American has nothing to do with my salvation, but I will participate in the 4th of July.
Yes.
Right. And you can. Right, I will participate. It's not a Christian holiday, Thanksgiving, but
we gladly participate.
It's my favorite. You kidding me? I do hunker down on that one, but anyway, that's another story. But yeah, so instead of either ignoring it, and I'll be honest with you too, because when I went to Bible college, I didn't come to Jesus till I was in my 20s, and a lot of my classmates, they were in it their whole lives. Mm. And many of them were preachers' kids, right, their whole life. And they were never allowed to do anything on Halloween, right? And there was all this resentment. And there was like, and they went a little crazy because they never got to participate in anything. So I remember back at Jubilee, we would do Hallelujah nights or Harvest nights.
I remember the big harvest parties.
Yeah. So I think it's good to have an alternative to what the world offers. Mm-hmm. And is that participating? Yes, participate. But that is the level of my participation in it. Yeah. I'm not celebrating anybody's death. I'm not going to, there's no spells or conjures out there. I am a little concerned about the safety of kids running around trick-or-treating. Instead, I'd rather they come to a safe environment and play a few games. Our games are, I don't know, what do we play?
Cornhole, tic-tac-toe.
Yeah, putting the ball, throwing the frogs into the pond, whatever, all these little games. And the kids love it. And while the kids are playing, getting candy, I'm talking to the parents.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a win-win. That's my participation.
Our final question for this episode of Ask Adam is a direct current event. Ricky would like to know why the Israeli government is referring to Trump as Cyrus the Great.
Well,
I don't even know who Cyrus the Great is, so this is your
Cyrus
question.
Cyrus the Great, I do believe at the Ben Gurion I'd have to look this up. At the Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv, which we have flown out of, they put a gigantic billboard, I believe, or a big giant sign that says Cyrus, with the picture of with the current president, President Trump. Cyrus the Great lives.
Okay,
and I believe this is what he is referring to. And if you're listening to this, we are in the second week of October, and all of the Israelis are hostages are coming home, right? So who was number one? Who was Cyrus the Great? Cyrus the Great is the founder of the Persian Empire. Okay, so if you've studied any of Xerxes and all of the other great Persian emperors throughout time, all the way until Alexander the Great, it all started, who conquered it, it all started with Cyrus the Great. And what is Cyrus the Great in the Bible known for? Releasing the Jews to go home. Read the books of Ezra and Nehemiah. They both start with the decree of Cyrus the Great. So they were slaves under Cyrus the Great. Cyrus the Great, we don't know why. There's no source given as to why he does this. There's all kinds of theories. But he allows the Jews to escape their captivity or to leave their captivity in Persia and go home to rebuild their temple to their God. That's the books of Nehemiah and Ezra. So from an Israeli perspective, obviously, they're viewing Trump, the president, coming in and negotiating not only a ceasefire, but a peace deal and the release of the hostages for these Jews to go home. They are hailing him, or a portion of them are, as Cyrus the Great. So that caught me off guard, Ricky. I didn't know what you're referring to, but after seeing the pictures, it's all over the news. So is it a good analogy? I don't know. But I do know one thing. I can see where they're drawing comparisons.
And we couldn't be more elated about
Thank God for that. And me and my wife last night just watching videos of those who have been in captivity for over 2 years, reuniting with their loved ones. And if you have even a pulse of a portion of a pulse in your heart, it would be hard to have a dry eye or not have the hair on your arm stand up, and just to fathom what these poor people have gone through, not only the hostages, but especially the families, and to see their elation as they're coming off that plane and getting the first hug with their loved ones in 2 years. So maybe in a way, President Trump did serve as a modern day Cyrus the Great.
Thank you, everyone, for all of your questions. Our next episode next month is the month of November, where we will be talking that month about giving thanks. Pastor Adams picked a great scripture from Psalms to focus as it's Thanksgiving. And can you believe the year is already
unbelievable?
We're in the holidays full on now.
I went to Walmart yesterday and there's Christmas decorations.
Wow, it feels like it was just, and the weather just changed, like it flipped 180 from 80 degrees to 49 at home this morning. So it's turning about. Well, we are praying for you. We're believing for you the best in this end of 2025 and the season's change. And we hope that you've also been blessed by this podcast.
Yeah, it was a good one. Thank you guys for the questions. And we'll see you next month.
See you next month. God bless you. Bye-bye.